Good evening, everyone. I'll call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, January 14th, 2021, 6 p.m. I'd like to have Claire Saar with Jonesboro United Methodist Church, if she will provide her invocation and lead us in our pledge, if everyone will stand.
Thank you, Brian. Will you bow with me for a word of prayer? Almighty God, we are thankful for your constant presence with us, for your calm in the midst of chaos, for your strength in the midst of uncertainty, for your guidance as we seek to do your work in the world. And I pray now in this time that you would come into this place, that you would be with each of these community leaders, guide the work that they do, open their eyes to see your will, and bless the decisions that are made. And as, Lord, we seek not only in this time, but each day, to do your work and to bring glory to your kingdom, may you guide each of us and strengthen us by your power. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Claire. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Mayor Williams,
Here.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Here.
Councilmember Cagle,
Here.
Councilmember Helton,
Here.
Councilmember Witt,
Here.
City Manager Dorsey,
Here.
City Attorney Litchford.
Here.
I failed to mention, this was mentioned in our last council meeting that we had in December, that we decided to revert back, the possibility of reverting back to conducting our council meetings by electronic means, and with the uptick of the COVID cases within our country and county, we've decided to do that. This is allowable via Governor Lee's latest executive order number 71. We'll continue to evaluate the COVID status and make a transition back to open public meetings when we feel it's safe to resume. And now I'll pass it off to City Attorney Litchford.
Thank you. Yeah, this meeting is being conducted pursuant to Governor Lee's executive order number 16, which was most recently extended on December 22nd, 2020. That was executive order 71. Pursuant to that order, it is required and for the body to make a recognition that for the health, safety, and welfare of the community, in light of the state of emergency that has been declared by the governor, this meeting would be conducted by electronic means. So, Ms. Middleton, if you would reflect in the minutes of the meeting that this body has already and previously made that acknowledgement that for the health, safety, and welfare of the community, this meeting is being conducted pursuant to electronic means in accordance with Governor Lee's executive order 16.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to item B, presentation of employee service awards. Back in October of last year, I mentioned a service award program that I wanted to create for our city employees. I approached the city manager and he was good with the concept and the program, and then I approached the city council on October the 22nd, and each of the members were receptive of the program. This program was set up with 5-year milestone increments, starting with 5 years going through 30 years. Once an employee reaches one of the milestone year anniversary, they will receive a service award certificate, a monetary check, and a service award pin. While implementing this program, I felt that we should baseline our valuable employees that have dedicated many years to our city and our citizens. This one-time baseline resulted in employees receiving a monetary check and a service pin for the last milestone reached as of 12/31/2020. And the employee would receive a service award certificate with the actual years of service to our city. Then as an employee reaches the next milestone anniversary, they would receive a pin and monetary check, and this recognition would occur in the first council meeting following their anniversary. As an example, we currently have 3 employees that have reached a milestone will reach a milestone this month, which one has already occurred. So they will be recognized for their achieved next milestone service award in our first council meeting in February. This program that put together has 5-year increments, 5 years and the monetary check of $50. 10 years would be $100. 15 years is $150. 20 years is $200. 25 years is $250, and 30 years is $300. So we had a lot of longevity, and I'd like to briefly read through some of all the employees that have in what level they received. Some have received, and some will be receiving. We've made several, a couple departments today. We're going to be visiting, me and City Manager Dorsey will be visiting some tomorrow and even some over the weekend to get some of the shifts that, for fire and police. But I felt that it was important to baseline instead of putting something in place and then someone would have to wait 3 or 4 years before they'd meet a 15-year milestone when they've already served over 10 that we've already have a milestone for. So I'll run through the list. 5 years, we have Robert Parker, Diane Qualls, Chris Peters, Kenneth Rawlings, Corey Cleek, Eric Massengale, Jason Daverson, Soniak, Pam Alberg, Jeff Crow, Rhonda Crowder, Jacob Seward, Aaron Smith, Scott Darwin, Andre Ballard, Patricia Cassidy, Ashley Miles, Stan Allen, Will Johnson, Dave Harding, Ezekiel Randolph, and Corey Hinch. 10 years, we have Matthew Talley, Mike Flynn Sr., Stephen Dean, Terry Linhold, Candace Brown, Tommy Saffles, James Burkhart, Robert Wade, Corey Custer, Patricia Weaver, Shauna Sykes, Michael Howell, Terry Prescott, Kyle Tate, Johnny Massengale, Melissa Mahoney, Officer Jeff Crow, Herbert Andrews, Ashley Hewitt, Robert Crawley. 15 years, we had Josh Creel, Gary Carpenter, Scott Butcher, Jeff Duncan, Randy Albright, Timothy Allen, Thomas Finch, Eric Chadwick, Billy McKeel, Andrew Jacks, Daniel Stevenson, Amanda Bowers. 20 years, we had Kent Henson, Eric Bowen, Leonard Meeks, Stephen Rogers, Thomas Vaughn, Eddie Sapp, Clint Usselton, Perry Goss, Kenny Custer. 25 years, Billy Quintrell, Mike Williams, Donald Rogers, Janet Millington. 30 years, Trish Perry, Tim Spires, Hal Duncan, Sue Cross, Byron Ray, and Mike Ailey. 2 of those that received the 30-year milestone actually achieved one over 35 years. That was 37 years, Tim Spires. And then another one actually had served here over 40 years, actually 42 years. So, and that's Trish Perry. So again, we greatly appreciate our employees and wanted to recognize them for their continued efforts and great service they provide to our citizens in our city. Again, we have visited several departments and start handing out these appreciation certificates for their year service, a pin, and a check for the monetary amount. And Mr. Dorsey, do you have anything you want to add?
No, it was very productive today. And the part I like is the fact we're going to meet with all these employees individually to be able to tell them, how much we appreciate the efforts that they put forth in this city.
Absolutely. And then again, like I said, as we baseline and as we move forward, when they meet a milestone, the following meeting, first meeting the following the month where they've met that next milestone with the years served, we will recognize them and present them with a pen, a check, and another appreciation certificate. So I think it's very good. A small token for our appreciation for what our employees do to make the city run smoothly and very well. And so thank you again. So I'll move to item 4, the consent agenda. I assume everyone's had an opportunity to read through the minutes of December 10th, 2020 council meeting, the minutes of December 14th, 2020 50th inaugural and organizational meeting, and the November 2020 financial report. So I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion by Councilmember Helton and a second by our Vice Mayor Chauncey. Do we have any discussion? Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. All right, we will move to item 5, communications from citizens. Since we are virtual, we do not have an opportunity for citizens to come forth to the council members. However, we did revert back to allow emails to be sent from noon Wednesday, January the 13th through noon Thursday, January the 14th, for anyone that would like to address the council, any resident, business owner. We did not receive any communications from citizens during that time, so we'll move on to communications from the council members. I'll start with Vice Mayor Chauncey.
I don't have anything, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cagle?
Have we got an update on our leaf machines? Last I heard, they were down, with going to be fixed, or are they still broke, or?
Did you want to answer that, Kenny?
Yes. So we have our leaf machines back, but unfortunately we have one transmission that went out of the truck just this last week on the truck that actually pulls one of the leaf vacs. So then we used a street department vehicle to do the same thing, to replace that so we could keep that piece of equipment in service. The clutch went out in it. So we're getting them both repaired as rapidly as possible, but we anticipate that to be, finished in the next week or so. Both, we're finishing our second run through on the north side, and the south side's been ran already. So we should be wrapping that up pretty soon. We'll jump back on the south side, finish that pass up, and then after that, then we'll reach out, communicate with everybody, and just let them know that if there's areas that need to be addressed, to just call into us. We'll take down addresses and we'll set them up and get them picked up by appointment or however we need to make sure that we meet whatever satisfaction that needs to be addressed out there.
Anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
All right. Councilmember Helton?
I just want to wish everybody a great upcoming year, and looking forward to serving with everybody.
Thank you. Councilmember Witt?
I would just like to congratulate Vice Mayor Chauncey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
All right. Also, we'd like to congratulate Councilmember Helton and Representative Helton for her re-election, her being sworn in and appointed to multiple committees at the state level. Also, Vice Mayor Chauncey for his election as Vice Mayor. Also, hope that everyone had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and looking forward to working with everyone in the following years. Concerning your comment about the leaf vehicles, Councilmember Cagle, I've also had same concerns and questions from citizens, and even kind of bugged our city manager about the possibility of altering or modifying our leaf process in the future to make this a little bit better, maybe not reliable on 2 machines. So hopefully we can get some things in the works and we can improve going forward with the entire process. So
Could include, which could include collection of bag leaves
yes,
as part of this if they want to get them up quicker. People need to realize it takes a couple months to take 2 machines past how many thousands of houses
Yes.
that are in the city. It's not a very quick process. And sometimes right after we've passed a street, people put leaves out that next weekend. Well, it's going to be a while before you get all the way through the city to get back to that street, as you well know. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing we know that's out there. And so the equipment breakdown is sort of hurting the process we were trying to start this year, at least by timing to see how long it takes to get certain parts done, so maybe we can go on a better sort of schedule next year, maybe even limit it to 1 or 2 runs, period. You have your leaves out by that time if you want us to get them, otherwise you have to bag them. Just ideas like that we've been throwing out to try to, like you said, try to make it more efficient, but make sure everybody understands and knows the process as we go forward.
Right. And we know that, bagging it can then cause additional work, tearing bags open but if, with possibility of discussions of the recyclable bags, that you wouldn't have to do that. So and we as a council too can work through, trying to make this thing better, because we know there's a lot of heartburn out there with the leaves and get the trucks repaired, and within a week they're broke down again. So we feel your pain. We understand it. So the other thing I wanted to say is I wanted to bring forward and recognize the loss of Carol Courtney on New Year's Eve. Carol was 81 years young and served our city for over 30 years. So please keep Carol's family and friends in your thoughts and your prayers. Also, I wanted to mention that the Dynamic Group had a groundbreaking yesterday for the new Town Place Suites at Frawley Road and Ringo Road. The plans are to be open summer of 2022. This development, if you remember, is over $13 million. And it's going to be bringing in, I think, an average $3 to $4 million annually in additional revenues. And they have 1 to 2 out parcels for a future restaurant. So it's exciting to continue to see growth in our city. Also, I always like to put a plug in for our great city library. They're still providing activity kits for the children, for craft activities. They can be picked up library curbside, and you can call the library to reserve one of those. And speaking of businesses, also Dos Bros is going to be opening up, I understand, by the end of this month. So that's another great thing. That's all that I have. So I will pass that on to City Manager Dorsey.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually don't have too much. Just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year and congratulate State Representative Helton on the seat assignments, if that's the proper term, position assignments and chairmanships and the committees that she's got on. She was telling me about them. She was very excited about them, and some of them are near and dear to me, especially things dealing with state and local government. So congratulations with that.
Thank you.
We already talked about the leave, so I will skip that. The other big thing I just wanted to mention real quick, and I've talked to the mayor about this, and we have a call tomorrow dealing with the subject about our centennial celebration, which we're supposed to be doing in April. As you know, this is a very, very intensive planning process that we've been doing for this centennial, trying to make sure we can do it right and have it done as something that our citizens would be able to, to remember and look forward to for many, many years to come. We started this last summer with Dana Howe being our chairman for this, and she has done a fantastic job with this, keeping it organized, keeping us on task, and going forward with different items on this. We have a meeting with her tomorrow, and part of that meeting will probably also talk about the potential of postponing it, deal with the fact that back last summer and fall, we didn't know how long this COVID pandemic would be stretching. So where things stand now, we may talk tomorrow about what our plans are for this. Do we postpone it 6 months? Do we wait and, whatever, just trying to figure out what our plans are going to be. And once we do that, we will communicate that, more information about that as we make those decisions. And that's basically all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, the date was supposed to be April 10th.
Yeah, I know. It's a tough decision, but more than likely we may have to cancel it just for safety.
Postpone it.
Postpone it, thank you. Wrong word. Postpone it. All right, so we'll move past item 8, old business. We have none, so we'll move to item 9, new business. Item A, ordinance number 1139.
This is an ordinance to amend Title 8 of the East Ridge Municipal Code to establish regulations for packaged liquor stores and for wine sold at retail food stores. Mayor and Council, in November of 2020, a referendum was engaged with connection with the adoption of a liquor store, or the legalized the sale of liquor in package stores throughout the municipal city limits of East Ridge. That referendum passed approval by a majority of the voters during the November referendum. Since that time, administration has been working to prepare a ordinance. There's been many discussions with MTAS. There's been a review of other cities of like size to East Ridge, and also talks with, or at least researched with, the ABC Commission, because in liquor, this area is while complex, it is really an area that is governed and controlled by the state, although the city may provide certain regulations with respect to items that are identified in the proposed ordinance number 1139. Those regulations are contained, would be in a new chapter 3 added to title 8, and it would be consisting of 22 sections, and this is all part of your packet here. Some of the highlights that were prepared were, there's a definition section, and then the discussion was, what was the best method for the city to go forward with proposals for accepting certificates of compliance and licensing. Mr. Dorsey performed this very same thing in Sparta, Tennessee several years ago, so we were able to use his guidance and his experience, and a lottery was the preferred, or at least identified, method of selection for liquor store, liquor store license. There was a, depicted in the draft here, 2 zones, District A and District B. District A would be consisting of the properties along the commercial corridor of Ringgold Road between Belvoir Avenue and the Bachman Tunnels, and District B was proposed to be along the commercial corridor of Ringgold Road, properties that have road frontage, road frontage access directly from Ringgold Road between Moore Road and Spring Creek Road. And then the other provisions are in here that there would be an election for one liquor store to exist, or at least one license to be permitted in each of those respective zones. The city would go through an advertising process and provide public notice that is accepting applications. The city would prepare an application which would require certain information to be provided. That information that's to be required is contained in section 8-316. These would be the information that is required in here. And then also there would be the requirements under, I want to say, Mr. Dorsey, I'm trying to find it, where if the property is owned by someone other than the person seeking the license, then that information of the property owner must be disclosed. There must be an agreement that the property owner is permitting the proposed or the subject property to be used for a retail liquor store, and that information would have to be provided to the city. Once the information is submitted to the city, it becomes final, and a person can only submit one application. The applicant cannot submit more than one, and this would include an applicant that may file as a individual for one, and then try to turn around and have some interest in another application. If it's determined that an applicant has more than one interest in an application, then both of those applications would be pooled. And so it was to ensure strict compliance, that someone wasn't trying to stuff the lottery box. It was drafted in a form that provides that in the event, or that applicants can only have one application submitted in connection with in connection with the lottery. The city would publicly advertise that application process and the date of the lottery to occur, and have deadlines set for the applications to be submitted to the city recorder. The operations of liquor stores will occur in accordance with state law, which currently allow liquor stores, to operate between the hours of 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and from 10 a.m.
No,
to
it's 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday
me.
through Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Sunday.
I got that back. You're
That's
right.
state
Excuse
law.
me. Yes,
Yes.
that's right. So it would be in accordance with state law, and then also there are restrictions as to what can occur in connection with property. The restrictions do not allow the actual consumption of the alcohol. There is an exception for tastings. In talking with some of the municipalities, sometimes liquor stores try to promote a product and they may have a tasting. And so to ensure that intoxication is not occurring, we put a provision in there that the retailers are not are prohibited and otherwise not permitted to sell liquor at their package stores to people that are visibly intoxicated, and then expanded that to include any of the guests that are with someone that is visibly intoxicated. Those people would also be precluded from being able to purchase liquor. So the idea was, if there's a tasting, the expectation is it would be a small amount that's offered for a tasting, a sample, that then the person would then make a determination as to whether or not they're going to purchase or not. It would not be intended for a tasting to occur such that someone could indeed get intoxicated. Otherwise, it does not allow any consumption on the premises of a liquor store. And those are just precautions that we're trying to put in here to help minimize the chance that such occurrences might happen during the liquor stores. So those are the highlights of it. There'd be the lottery, the 2 districts, 1 liquor store in each of the districts. The locations of them would be along the Ringo Road corridor that have road frontage to the Ringo corridor. And there'd be fees and stuff that have to be paid, but a lot of those are controlled by state law. While we may have reiterated them in here, that is what state law provides for. We are the collection agency for the state with respect to certain of the fees, like inspection fees and the application fees. But otherwise, the state law would control, and these ordinances are prepared to be consistent with state law. One other thing is that the building of which the operations of the retail liquor store would be operated must have a store display area of not less than 5,000 square feet. And the prevailing thought was, in other cities that have adopted or that have had referendum liquor stores in the past few years, the finding was that nicer, or at least more required appearances and size for liquor stores tended to generate more positive impact to the community rather than smaller liquor stores. There are certain requirements as to the aesthetics to the liquor store, what kind of signage may be displayed, how much signage, where the entrance is going to be. Those sort of items are contained in this ordinance.
And I think, City Manager Dorsey, you had some things
Yes,
you want
sir.
to add?
Yes, sir. I want to thank City Attorney Litchford for digging into this with me. He mentioned most of the highlights at the beginning, dealing with the 5,000 square foot sales floor. As he said, we're looking for larger sized liquor stores that might have, a greater appeal with wine sections and, liquor sections, and some even have humidors. Is that the right word? For cigars and all that sort of stuff. To try to have, something with a nice impact for our city. That's the reason why we're looking at that, as he said. The 2 districts, we talked a lot about how we wanted to look at doing the districts for the liquor stores. And one thing I'd even discussed a little bit with the mayor, had dealt with, our economic revitalization of the things we're trying to do along the Ringo Road corridor. And so with that, we have had many citizens say, are you going to try to do something for the west side of town? And this is one of those instances where, there may be buildings that can be rehabilitated, new buildings built over there, and whether it's all the way on the west side between Belvoir and like John Ross's catty corner below it, but we put Belvoir in there. From Belvoir to the tunnels is one area, because this could generate other commercial interests around that store as well. And so the second area is from Moore Road to Spring Creek. We purposely have that break between Moore Road and Belvoir because we don't want 2 liquor stores sitting right next to each other. So we purposely try to make sure, we concentrated one to help the west end of the city, and then the other to help from Spring Creek, like I said, to Moore Road. There are some properties there. We sort of looked at, what would be able to hold a 5,000 square foot sales floor liquor store, which means you probably need 8,000 square feet, 7,000 square feet when you count the storage space and all that, which has to be inside the liquor store. They can't have anything outside. So with that, that's why we started at Spring Creek and went west to Moore from there, because there's some areas there that could use help. There's some vacant lots. There's some old buildings that, may love to sell to somebody if they're going to build something nice, a nice development in there. So that's why we stuck to those two areas to help with that, because that would help bring more business to those areas. People would have to drive maybe past some other parts of the city to get to those areas, which might help us as well with our economy there. So that was the reason we did that. The other thing that I included in here that City Attorney Litchford didn't mention is the wine and retail food stores. Back in, I think it was November of 2016, or was it 2017? One of those 2 years, there was a referendum. I think it was 2016. There was a referendum
16.
for wine, to be able to sell wine in grocery stores, and it passed. Well, researching through them, and when I was in Sparta, I took care of this. We had to rewrite part of the code to incorporate the selling of wine in grocery stores. Well, I started looking through the minutes and things here, and it said that they were going to do some ordinances to handle this, and no ordinances ever got done. So there was nothing in here about the retail fees, about a local license that they may have to have, about the inspection fees and some of the fees that we have in here. So I guess just out of the goodness of their heart, unless there's a default at the state law, they've just been sending it to us. So we took care of those problems and put in, what we had in state law and what I've seen before. And as City Attorney Litchford said, talking to other cities and with MTS to make sure that we corrected that issue as well, to make sure we put in here some regulations and things on the wine in the grocery stores. One thing that's interesting that City Attorney Litchford also mentioned is the fact beer is regulated by a city. Liquor is pretty much regulated by the state. The first part that we have our due diligence in and things that we can deal with things such as zoning, where they can go, what sort of things we want to do about store requirements and all that. And then once we go through the lottery and we pick somebody, and I had suggested that we do the lottery at a city council meeting. So everything is transparent, above board. Even MTS recommended doing a lottery as opposed to doing presentations from people, because you never know how those are going to end up. How do you decide which store should go here and which store should go here? It's a matter of transparency. So cities, like I said, some use the lottery method, and even MTS and the legal counsel at MTS suggested that that's the better method to use. So that's why we have been talking about going with that lottery method. There's a lot involved with the lottery, with the application process in general. The other reason we're doing this now with that application process is it's pretty much, we have a good opportunity with the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission between now and June 30th. When wine and grocery stores passed a few years back, one of the trade-offs they put in was that cities that had existing liquor licenses could not issue new licenses for 3 years. So that was until June of 2021. However, that applied to cities that already had liquor licenses. East Ridge did not have that, or does not have that yet until this is done. So whoever comes out ahead with the lottery, they'll be able to go straight to the Alcoholic Beverage Commission to work on these. I'm afraid once July gets here, there may be a backlog of all these other cities that have had to wait 3 years to do something about licenses, and it could create a very long process for these people. So that's one reason why we had said in December after it passed that we want to make sure we got this ordinance done in January so we could keep moving forward. We do this now. The next step, as we said, would be the lottery. Whether it's 6 weeks or 2 months for that lottery, we want to make sure that people have plenty of time, because you already have to have your property picked out when you do the lottery. They will send their applications into us. We will review the applications to make sure it meets all the criteria that we have in the ordinances. And then we would put the names, like I said, into a hat or whatever, and we would draw based on the different parts of the city that we have. That's if there's multiple. If there's only one that submits for the West End and they meet everything, that's fine. If there's multiple, then we do a lottery for that one or the other one. So that's why we sort of have that set up that way. So I've talked about that. I've talked about the wine. Kenny, is there anything I might have missed?
I don't believe so. I think that's covered mostly everything that's been worked on over the last several months.
Thank you.
All right, thank you both. I know it's a lot of work and efforts went into this. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of questions, so I'm gonna go with Robert's Rule of Order. I'd like to entertain a motion for ordinance number 1139.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1139.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hilton and a second by Councilmember Witt. All right, do we have any discussion?
I got one question. Everything's been discussed in this thing that I've had people call me about, except for one thing, and that's the distance between, and now I know we have it for the restaurants, the package stores to sell beer. They're requesting, for the citizens that I've been talking to and getting emails from, and I'm sure you've got the same thing, the distance between playgrounds, schools, churches, government buildings. I didn't see anything in here about the distances required between those establishments. And I'd like to ask if we could add that in there, 250 foot from a church, a playground, a school, and government buildings. Because we're only gonna have 2 liquor stores, and there ought to be plenty of room for it somewhere.
We looked into the probability of putting in distances, but we know that they took them out for beer. For liquor, for package stores, we have that specific requirement of 5,000 square feet minimum for the floor sale size to have the liquor store. Assistant City Manager Custer and I looked at a bunch of the maps to see what sort of available properties that leaves going up and down through the city, and some of the sites that could be bought, raised, and then rebuilt. And in a couple of those places, you might have an issue with the church being within 250 feet. It'd be different if we were having liquor stores that could be in very small places or different things like this, but because one reason we have that fact that we're looking for a larger site, you have to have a larger lot to be able to do that. So that's one reason why we didn't put that in.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have one. I guess it's kind of a statement. I've read over the ordinance. I like the location of A and B where it's located, but I truly believe because the east side of the city is divided from the west by the interstate and the bridge, that we really need another store on that far east side of the city. Simply to catch the Georgia traffic, to catch travelers, people that will be staying at exit 1 for events, because that is truly almost like a city in of itself now. And for the tourism part of it, I think as new hotels come in currently, our hotels do not have any bars or restaurants that sell alcohol. I just think we need to have a store there, another liquor store. So I would like to see that added.
With that being said, I've got a statement to make. Let's just take Spring Creek Road out of it and run it all the way to the state line. From there to state line, still just keep 2 liquor stores.
I understand. I think the intent here was to City Manager Dorsey's is we keep hearing everything is happening at that end. So, this is an attempt to move some of that business, toward the center of town and also toward the west end at the tunnel. And that would also drive people through our city further. That could also do some more, purchasing, more, stopping and dining and things like that as well. So I think that's the intent. We hear over and over the citizens saying, let's move stuff away from exit one down there with 75, I-75, and to the other. So I think that's the reason they put this in. But again, this is totally, majority of the council's approval, how we want to district this.
And that makes
Could it be possibly done this way once the liquor store A and B is occupied and there may be somebody else interested in doing another one, that we could look at that in the future? I'm just saying that, we are almost a city of 22,000 people, but we have a lot of visitors that come through on the east end for different tourism type things, and they might not necessarily want to drive all the way to the other end. We've heard that complaint from our residents about how far it is to drive to Camp Jordan. I personally don't feel like it is, but I'm just throwing it out there.
It's a good point. Currently people have to drive all the way into the city of Chattanooga. So this would be closer
Right.
than driving to the city of Chattanooga. I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
No, it's fine. The only comment I was going to make to I have to keep saying Councilmember Helton,
I know.
is the fact that ordinances can always be changed or amended in the future.
Correct.
So you are
Right.
correct. That could be something that could be looked at down the road.
Well, I'm thinking with what's being considered even near the Red Wolves area with all the residential and people living there, they love to, hope maybe at some point we may have another grocery there. And it's just, a lot of people that live in those type of communities, they like to be able to walk to, if it's a Whole Foods or a Fresh Market, and if there's a liquor store, they want to be able to walk and do that kind of thing. I'm just trying to look into the future and have the groundwork laid there.
And the great unknown is we don't know what the locations would be of the liquor stores yet that come through the lottery. One could
Right.
be down as far east as you can get in that zone. That might help.
Sure.
Or like you said, it could end up closer to the food line. You're right. Part of it might end up being where the locations of those are, and there might be some need somewhere down the road.
Right.
Yeah, and you could adjust. I do think that 2 is sufficient. I don't want to, me personally, I'm one of 5, personally not inundate the city with a liquor store in every corner. That's not my intent.
Mayor and council, I would just like
Yes,
to
sir.
remind everybody that, we were allowed to put a very unique business model in East Ridge in the mid-2000s. And those have been very successful and very prosperous. And we know that they only open fully are successful a few times a year. They have brought some good revenue and tax dollars, but that wasn't thought through as well on location, because they ended up having a cluster and everybody clustering together, and everybody went in and bought property. So just be mindful moving forward, and this is what we tried to look for as we were doing this. We thought about every access into East Ridge of where individuals would come from, and
You're referring to fireworks stores.
well, now that you mentioned it.
Yes. Just go ahead and throw it out there.
So, which obviously have been successful, but I don't think that we, as administration and administrators and everything, looked into that as well as we should have, as it relates to separation and distance and things of that nature. So when we started looking at this and going through everything, we looked at 2 stores, we've looked at 3 stores, we've looked at access, taking John Ross, taking South Seminole, people that would come from the Ridge, Rossville, Walker County, Chattanooga. I mean, we've looked at all aspects of it. And it's like with anything else, there's always room for improvement, but we think we've put out a pretty good product for you all to review and look at. So,
And one other thing Kenny and I talked about was the fact of, right now we know there's no availability for package store sales in northern Georgia. That's close to us. if for some reason they ever pass it, then, we have no idea what their regulations are. They might say one could go right at McBride at the state line, McBride Road where that gas station is. You could have something right there that close. Might necessarily have to be on Ringgold Road on one end. We have no idea what the future could hold a few years down the road.
I'll make a statement as well. So I'm pretty much, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. I'm pretty much in favor of the districts. I like the idea of bringing in businesses, at least drawing it into these districts. These districts are probably one of the areas of the East Ridge corridor that needs it most. I think this is a perfect opportunity to draw new businesses into these two areas, and also I like the idea of, I think it's a good start. I think it's a great start, and a couple years down the road, if we see a need or a demand for or an opportunity to increase adding a district or amending the ordinance, then we always have that option. So.
Well, as long as we can revisit it, because I think a couple of years down the road, if everything progresses as we hope, with a lot more residential, because I think we might want to look at that again.
Yeah, it absolutely can be. It absolutely can be. This is the new, even though we've got the city manager that's got the experience, it's still new for our area, and I think, I do think this is a good plan to start with, and again, we can amend it as we go, after we see these being built and the demand, as Vice Mayor mentioned, and go from there. But that, like I said, that's just my own personal opinion. And have any other questions or any other discussions?
I had just one other question. Did we address, or when we talked, the liquor stores, the contents of they're allowed to sell wine, beer? Is there a state law that blankets and restricts them from selling other types of retail? Just I guess this is a question for the city manager.
Well, the city attorney, we actually broached that subject after you asked that question about what sort of things can be sold in a liquor store. I don't know if you want to tackle that, Mark.
Right, and Councilman, we have, in fact, even got a call in. The short of it is, that is, the contents of what they're able to sell is likely governed by state law and the ABC Commission. They will dictate what can and cannot be permitted. I think is what's going to be the answer. We've not received a response yet. I have been looking at it, but generally, if it's not otherwise granted to the city for permission to regulate, then it's reserved for the state, and then the state has delegated that authority out to the commission. That's a long way of saying my expectation is the commission makes that decision. The commission already has made that decision with respect to other retail stores and limits the sale of items to alcoholic beverages. Now, there's been some extension for things like Coke or lemons and items, but I think we will look into to ensure that liquor package stores are not otherwise engaging in items of sale that the city doesn't want. And I'll get a firm answer once I talk to the commission within 2 weeks.
And with that, that's another reason, Vice Mayor Chauncey, that, we also discussed the fact of having these larger liquor stores, with wine areas and with liquor and maybe, high gravity beers and things of that nature, where it's a higher quality liquor store, which is what we're trying to look for to help with the values of the city, as opposed to a small corner one where, you just don't know what you might get with a small liquor store.
Well, that's
I don't know a nice way to say it. That's just the way I feel.
Well, that's definitely what I'm wanting to see. I'm wanting to see a more upscale, traditional
That's what I'm trying to say.
wine and
Yes, sir.
spirit store.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I want to kind of, and I'd like to see it in writing before we vote on it twice, or for a second reading. I just don't want a loophole or something there that allows them to sell other paraphernalia items or other things that the traditional wine and spirits liquor stores don't sell.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll have that.
Correct way to put it. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we have the same vision. Any other questions? Any other statements? Again, this is the first reading, so we'll have the second reading at the next council meeting. So I hear no other questions, so roll call, Ms. Milton.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
No.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Ordinance number 1139 passed, first reading.
And Mayor, somewhere here I saw just, it has nothing to do with the actual language or things in here, but I saw somewhere where it went from, instead of 4, 5, and 6, it went from 4 to 56 to 6. There was a numbering error we'll fix in the next one, but it has nothing to do with the text. Here it is, on page 8 at the very top. We will just fix that little typo on there for the next reading.
Okay, awesome. Okay, next, we had publicized a public hearing for ordinance number 1140.
Can you hear me? This is gonna be a public hearing with respect to ordinance 1140. 1140 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulations and the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, so as to rezone the property located at 1505 Truman Avenue, tax map number 169L-G-003, from C2 Commercial District to R1 Residential District. This would be the first reading that will follow the public hearing.
Thank you, sir. I'll open this public hearing. I understand that there is no one here from the public to discuss. Is there anything you would like to discuss from the planning side, zoning?
Yes, I'd be happy to add. The rezone of 1505 Truman Avenue from C2 to R1, it was one of the properties that sits not too far off Ringo Road. If you look at it on the map, it's maybe 1 or 2 parcels back. It was caught up in the initial, rezoning that we talk about all the time. Unfortunately, they've been trying to get this rezoned since early into the holidays, possibly back into, I think they were set to close in November, just because of the process. It's taken a long time. So obviously the planning commission voted unanimously, I believe, to go ahead and approve this rezoning. So it's before you all today to do that. So staff recommends approval also.
All right, thank you. Again, we don't have any public here that would like to come and speak during this public hearing, so I will close this public hearing and move into item C, ordinance number 1140, which then will give the council an opportunity if they have any questions. So item C, ordinance number 1140.
An
Make a
ordinance.
motion.
Just to be consistent, let me read this ordinance first, just to be consistent with our standard practice. Ordinance 1140 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulations and the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, so as to rezone the property located at 1505 Truman Avenue, tax map number 169L-G-003, from C2 Commercial District to R1 Residential District.
Thank you, sir. This is the first reading, so I'll entertain a motion for ordinance number 1140.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 1140.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Vice Mayor Chauncey and a second by Councilmember Helton. Do we have any discussion? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Miller.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Ordinance number 1140 passed first reading. So I'll move into item D, which is another publicized public hearing for ordinance number 1141.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this would be a public hearing with respect to ordinance 1141, which ordinance reads as an ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulations and the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, so as to rezone the properties located at 845 and 855 Donaldson Road, tax map number 156L-C-012 and 012.02, from R1 Residential District to R2 Residential Duplex District.
Thank you, sir. I will open up this public hearing. We do not also have anyone has came to address the council on this public hearing, so
Yes, Mayor and
Thank you.
Council, just a brief update. So this also went before the Planning Commission on December the 7th, 2020. Mr. Martin petitioned East Ridge Planning Commission to rezone the properties located at 845 and 855 Donaldson Avenue from R1 residential district to R2 residential duplex district. Both of these properties that's listed here were zoned urban residential around 1985, or during the area of about 1985. 845 Donaldson Road, property card listed as construction date or built around and about 1986, to where 855 was built at or around 1920, according to the records that we have. So these were legally legally conforming uses during the urban residential zoning era of the mid 1980s. They would have remained that way. However, they've been vacant and unoccupied over the last 4+ years, and I believe it was discovered that they did a power out over a year, if I'm correct about that. The electrical inspector did, and it came through, and they're wanting to rehab them and bring them back to life. They're pretty much surrounded by that, the duplex districts and stuff around there now, and I believe that was a unanimous vote, perhaps, by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission Chair, Vice Mayor Chauncey, may have something else he wants to add about that, but
Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, I know a lot of times we try to look for opportunities to maybe turn what maybe a rental property into more of attractive end user type property. But after doing some research, like Kenny said, and again, when I kind of look back and I try to say, well, was this property initially constructed as a single family house? Which in fact, for what we could gather, it was not. It was they were both constructed as duplexes when they were originally built, and they actually had the proper zoning at the time. So we felt like if denying it would be probably infringing on their rights a little bit there. But I felt like it would have been unfair. That's just me, and I think the rest of the board felt the same. But and then also kind of look at what the status quo would be. I know we've turned down rezoning cases with similar properties in the past that were illegally converted into duplexes, but it turned out that this was not the case. So we felt like it was fair to grant the zoning.
that's great.
Thank you, Kenny.
thank you, Assistant City Manager and Vice Mayor Chauncey. Again, we have no citizen participation during the public hearing, so I will close this public hearing and move into item E, ordinance number 1141.
Ordinance number 1141, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulations and the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, so as to rezone the properties located at 845 and 855 Donaldson Road, tax map number 156L-C-012 and 012.02 from R1 residential district to R2 residential district, residential duplex district, excuse me.
Thank you, sir. Again, this is the first reading, so I'll entertain a motion for ordinance number 1141.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1141.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Vice Mayor Chauncey and a second by Councilmember Helton. Have any discussion? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
yes,
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
yes,
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Ordinance number 1141 passed first reading. We'll move to item F, resolution number 3104.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, approving the execution and delivery of a development agreement with CC East Ridge LLC relating to a project in the Border Region Retail Development District and authorizing certain actions related thereto. I can take this for the council. This is a project that is scheduled for arrival at the property located at 6710 Ringo Road. This property is currently at Best Western and is seeing the company identified as CC East Ridge LLC is coming into the project. They are taking over the management and I think maybe even the ownership, but nevertheless the management of the operations, and they have contracted or are contracting with the City Cafe restaurant owner. The City Cafe and the restaurant will be opening in East Ridge. They hope to open up this year, and perhaps even as early as I think even April or May. They want to have the City Cafe open. That is around a $2.3 million renovation and development with connecting with the East Ridge City Cafe, and then also we're putting in a bar together with that restaurant. And together those are about a $2.3 million, give or take, investment. And then ultimately they're also doing a major renovation of the hotel. It will be a Marriott flag hotel that they hope to have that finished and finalized by the end of this year. The project, as they have got it right now, would provide that, let me pull it up, but right now it would provide, we have split the two projects up. The reason we did that was really to protect both the city and the developer. We have a new company coming in, the CC East Ridge LLC coming in, and that company has already contracted with a new restaurant, being the City Cafe, of which that company will come in. There's new ownership, there's new investments, there's new restaurant, and there's also going to be new sales tax numbers associated with the operations of these items. So the idea was we don't get opinion responses from the Department of Revenue. They don't really serve as that capacity, and it's frustrating, but that's the reality. So what we've done here to protect both the developer and the city is if the sales that are generated in connection with the City Cafe and the bar, then any border region revenue generated from those operations would be split 63% with the developer, 37% for the city. To the extent the cities or the hotel renovations qualify under the border region statute for reimbursements of the expenses, then the city would split those proceeds with the developer, the city receiving 47% and the developer receiving 53%. Those amounts were triggered by what the return on investment would be for the both the developer, and what the city attempted to do was try to get back around that 65% return on investment, and that's how they came up with those 60, give or take 63, 65%. That has been consistent really with the other developments that have come through the border region program, and so the developers were very pleased with this. They actually reached out to the city when this came about and were very gracious in their appreciation for the city to work with them, and were accepting of the offer. This was voted on by the IDB a few weeks ago to approve these allocated amounts and splitting them up for the protection of the city and the developer.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3104.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 3104.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I second it.
Okay. All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Helton and a second by Vice Mayor Chauncey. Do you have any discussion?
I'll say one thing real quick. City Attorney Litchford brought up the fact about the return on investment. You know, that's what we try to focus on when we do these border region acts, these border region incentives. You know, the whole point of this is to, help with economic, to have business incentives and investment to get these companies and these businesses in here. And it's for them to be here to work with the city for the long haul, not something where we're trying to pay off in 2 or 3 years. The whole point is the Board of Regents runs through 2042, and we try to look at that return of investment to help them for that whole 20-year period. And I just wanted to make that point again, that's why where this 63% return on investment comes from. We're very happy that the developers worked with us, and we're pleased with that number, and we are too. I just wanted to bring that point back up, that this is a long-term investment.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's definitely a long-term partnership.
Partnership, better word, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And I'm very, very excited to hear about the City Cafe and also 4 Point Sheraton.
And I hear we may have a problem here because a lot of the people in City Hall want to go down there for the desserts. That might not be a good thing.
Those desserts are a work of art.
So I hear.
They are.
Mayor, and just if I may add, so just, because, we hear this a lot of time from the general public, we had the first meeting and first discussion about this City Cafe over 2 years ago. So I know everybody's wanting everything to happen overnight, and we are trying our best to land and work with and get everything that everybody wants, but just understand that we're working every aspect and every end of this city as it relates to development. Just because we have a conversation and we get something today, it doesn't mean that you won't see that 2 years from now. So this was a prime example of initial conversations, building those relationships, and trying to make it happen.
Exactly. We're engaging and providing opportunities, and we can't force them. It has to be at their pace. Good point. All right. I see no other discussion. Roll call, Ms. Milton.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes,
Councilmember Helton,
Yes,
Councilmember Witt,
yes,
Mayor Williams.
Yes. We'll move to item G, resolution number 3105. Mr. Litchford, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Resolution 3105, a resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a professional services agreement with ACE Engineering Consulting, Inc. to provide professional engineering services for the Tennessee Department of Environmental Conservation, TDEC, Local Parks and Recreation Fund, LPRF grant.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and Mayor and Council, Amanda's not in to be able to speak to this, but you'll see that the service fee should not exceed $20,000. And I know if you look back through the document, it says it's roughly $15,000, 15,600 and some change. So this is a not to exceed, because once we've been pushing this thing so hard, and we're right here towards the end. We don't have to, if there's a snafu or some issue, we discover something, have to come back, put a delay, because we've already gotten, I think, as many as extensions as we possibly can because of the organization along this grant, how it's been done so far. We also had already had another agreement with ACE Engineering that was approved by council, because they're one of the many that are allowed to use, that we're allowed to select from to use at many other parks, but this was a specific document that was needed for the LPRF grant. So, and again, it's a service fee not to exceed $20,000.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3105.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 3105.
A second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Councilmember Witt and a second by Vice Mayor Chauncey. Do we have any discussion?
well, Kenny answered my
Yes, sir.
question, the difference between the 14.9 and the 20,000, so.
And also, I don't know if it was mentioned, were you going to insert that it also states that it'll be paid with grant funds?
Yes. Yes. The other thing I was gonna mention just real quick was an update on where we are on the splash pad. You know, this thing's been dragging for a while, and we finally got it put back into high gear. We've had issues with the state going back and forth, with submitting things, then requiring changes, going back and forth, and now we're gonna have to separate out the construction of this from the purchase of the equipment, when the people that purchase the equipment install the equipment. But the way the grant goes, you're gonna have to go out and bid for the construction separately, so we were dealing with that issue. We're dealing with having to get stamped, engineered plans from this, and the company on its own doesn't stamp those plans, so we're having to go back with ASA to help us to get those plans reviewed and stamped. So it just seems like we have one hurdle here, one hurdle here, one hurdle here. But we're finally getting closer and closer to the end now, to be able to put this out for bid for construction, we're hoping.
That's great. There's several moving parts, several different contractors, and several different elements to this. When this, realistically, looking back, it probably should have been more of a turnkey type project that we bid for. So, got to be careful when looking at those grants. Grants sound good, but it could be some challenges, some hurdles that take a little time to work through.
Prime example. Okay, I see no other discussion, so roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes,
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Resolution 3105 passed. We'll move to item H, resolution number 3106.
A resolution of the council of the city of East Ridge, Tennessee, authorizing the mayor and city manager to execute a renewal of that certain field enhancement sponsorship agreement with Chattanooga Professional Soccer Management LLC. Mayor and city council, this is it's renewal of an agreement that was executed last year. There are some tweaks in here. One, just as pursuant to state law, certain things that are not permitted to be in there. One, you can't have any indemnification. A city can't indemnify, so there's a thing in there about indemnification. It talks about, this was something that was contemplated last year when the owner of the Chattanooga CPSM was going to help enhance the fields, and in doing so, there would be some temporary sports equipment as well as potentially some permanent sports equipment. And subsequent to that time, I understand that there was some maybe bleachers that were erected there, and then maybe perhaps enhancements to field. I don't know exactly. And so this is just a continuation of that agreement. To the extent that there was any permanent equipment that was ever installed in there, the city would negotiate in good faith with the owner that the cost of that would be whatever the cost is minus depreciation and any impairments. And so, but those would have to be good faith negotiations. And the city, since the city still owns the land, the city would know what permanent fixtures were going to be going in there. And so the city would be able to dictate whether or not it's something that they would contemplate as wanting, to the extent that those permanent structures were put in place at the field. It talks about what the sponsorship of the sports equipment is in paragraph 3, and where they're able to put stuff. And it's really the main highlights of this agreement. And the city manager may have other points of it, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to do my best to answer these.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3106.
I make a motion to approve resolution 3106.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Councilmember Witt and a second by Vice Mayor Chauncey. So do we have any discussion?
I had my mic off, sorry.
Okay.
I
Yes, sir.
have some. This equipment that's gonna be permanently put in the ground that can't be removed and stuff like that, I like to see that, well, they've got them listed here, the locker rooms, coaching offices, and this one right here lighting enhancement accessories to the city to be incorporated into the fields. I don't know what that is. That's I know on the soccer fields over your heads. So, but anyway, things like that I think needs to be brought in front of the council before they're allowed to do it. Because at the end of this thing, we're gonna have to buy it back. So I just don't see no needs in locker rooms and coaches' offices and stuff like that for this thing. And also down there where I read an article where they're wanting to put AstroTurf on that field. So, and I'm an avid against AstroTurf because of the pros and the cons on it. So, things like that I'd like to see brought back in front of the council before they do it.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
Well, another thing, last time we done this thing, I asked about who was gonna be responsible for the lights, waters, and et cetera like that, and never did get an answer, and I don't see nothing in here about that either, so I see where they're gonna maintain the field. So I'm assuming that's cutting the grass and fertilizing it.
That's correct. All the utilities, everything will maintain ours until we go through the different process, which is finishing up with a conversion. And at that point, there's other negotiations that would come into play. And I would like to add something on as it relates to fields. And I know Councilman Cagle, I strongly know your stance on turf. You and I have had that discussion multiple times, but I don't know if everyone realized, but today it was announced that the 2021 and 2022 Girls High School State Championships will be played in Chattanooga. They will be using all the turf fields around Chattanooga at the high schools for their some of their qualifier games, but then the actual championship final games will be played at CHM Memorial Stadium. So the championship will actually be played in Eastridge over for 2021 and 2022 of the high school girls championship. So that was a pretty big announcement today.
Do we have any other questions? Excuse me. I see none. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Voted no the first time, so it's no.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Resolution 3106 passed. We'll move to item I, resolution number 3107.
Resolution number 3107, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, authorizing the city manager to approve the attached change order request from Integrated Properties LLC in regard to stormwater improvements. Well, this should say on Camp Jordan.
You must have.
Yeah.
If I can, I'll read it for you.
Yeah, we've got an updated
Yeah.
resolution.
A resolution of the, and I'm not taking over all the time doing this, by the way. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, authorizing the city manager to approve the two attached change order requests from Mid-America Sports Construction related to stormwater drainage at the Camp Jordan soccer field expansion. I'll keep talking if you want.
Yes, please.
What happened here was we had to issue a amended agenda because the resolution didn't change, but we had screwed up the caption. We had an old caption on there from a resolution from before where we took the bones of it to create this, and it just inadvertently got on there and transferred to the agenda. Once we noticed it, we just fixed it. But if you read the resolution, you noticed we didn't change that at all. That's still the way it's supposed to be. What happened out here, and I'll let Assistant City Manager Custer jump in after I talk. The construction is underway on the 4 soccer fields out of Camp Jordan. The 2 lower fields that are behind Jordan Run, once in December and another time in January, the construction crews ran into a drain. It's basically was supposed to be an attempt at a French drain system right behind where those houses are, right there along Jordan Run. What happened was there's two drainage spots along Jordan Run right now. Where the grates, excuse me, the grates where the water goes, the storm water goes down through. It goes down between a set of houses, each one, and it should have dumped into the creek behind us, behind where the fields are. But what happened was, when they built this, they just had the drains go past the houses, and I don't remember how many feet past the houses, but you even saw that one hole. And all they did was the pipe underwater just stops. I mean, underground just stops.
In the middle of the field.
It's right there, right in the middle, yeah, not even to the middle, but a little before the middle of the field. It just sits there in like this casing that's underground, which I assume was supposed to be some attempt at a French drain. But what has been happening is the water, the storm water has been coming into that pipe, backing up from that spot because there was nowhere for the water to go. So, you know, we have heard parks employees say that that whole area has been, you know, wet weeks after rains and mushy and marshy and all that sort of stuff. Mushy out there. And this is probably why, because the water has sat in that drain pipe, stormwater pipe, for it could be weeks after it rains, slowly seeping into the soil there because the way the French drain was made. So that's why it never dried out. So what they're doing here is they are fixing the problem that was there, actually fixing the drainage problem. So, and having the pipes now, the HDPE, if I always pronounce that right, to go all the way to the creek. So that fixes two problems. One, it fixes the underground drainage problem to get them all the way over there. Two, it fixes the problem of all the saturation that's been in that ground for weeks and weeks after rain, which could potentially have caused other flooding situations. When other water comes in, there's nowhere for that water to go because it was always all saturated. So in a way, this does help fix that drainage problem out there as well. Anything I forgot, Kenny?
I don't believe so.
Likes that one.
All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3107.
Make a motion to approve resolution 3107.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Vice Mayor Chauncey and a second by Councilmember Witt. Do we have any discussion?
I had one question about the water going straight from the road in front of those houses to the creek, and I was wondering about the gas and oil that would be up there, that could be washing down through there straight into the creek. Would that be an environmental problem?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Okay, storm drains are up on the road in front of those houses that we're talking about.
Right.
Okay, and I'm worried about the asphalt up there, collecting the gas, oil, and debris
Right.
from there running.
But
and
that's what a lot of
now we're
sto-
running this straight to the creek, and I was wondering if there's any environmental problem with that.
I don't know what the actual EPA regulations, but a lot of the storm drains for everywhere, you'll see little stickers on them that'll even say run straight to creek or run straight to basin. So I know that's probably an issue that's city, county, and nationwide.
They do that, and they put those placards on there for stormwater only.
Yes.
And storm sewer only. However, what we're doing is connecting to an existing issue that's been there for 25 plus years, and we're trying to help fix that issue and take it on. So I talked to Councilman Cagle about that, and he did have some concerns about that and how the detention, retention, how that works when that comes into play. And it actually only comes into play when we're making a significant change to pervious or impervious surfaces. So.
One other thing, Kenny, will there be a backflow put on that when the creek gets up, stays where it dumps into the creek?
I don't anticipate one being there.
Okay.
Thank you both. Any other questions? Do I have any other questions from the other members? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
I'm against the whole project, but I'm gonna vote yes on getting it finished.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. All right, we'll move to item J, discussion item for future vision of youth soccer.
Yes, Mayor and Council, you could, I would like to introduce, I've got two gentlemen that has joined. Derek Green, the Executive Vice President for the Chattanooga Red Wolves Academy, and Sean McDaniel, President and General Manager for the first team for the Chattanooga Red Wolves. We have been in a partnership working with these guys for the last few years. They've brought professional soccer and youth soccer to Eastridge. It's been a partnership between Eastridge Football Club, and they have some ideas on expansion and expanding that, and I would like for them to actually address you all and share kind of their vision of what they're thinking moving forward about growing the game of soccer.
Well, thanks for having us, everyone. So if you can all see us or don't know Sean or myself, I am Derek Green, and I am the Executive Vice President, as Kenny said, of the Red Wolves Academy, which is our youth functioning program underneath our first team, which Sean oversees. And that's working with our pro players and contracts and coaches and all the things that are going on with the stadium for the Red Wolves. We have made heavy investments in Eastridge, and as part of that, we are excited to try to make a major impact on the sport of soccer throughout Chattanooga, but specifically in the city of Eastridge and the community in which we are going to make our home. This is an opportunity that really only comes along when you have someone, as our owner is willing to do, to make investment with resources to grow the game. He's got a deep heart for youth soccer. His kids all played soccer. And a quick background on me and what brought me to Chattanooga. So I grew up playing youth soccer in Knoxville, went on to play at the University of Tennessee on the men's club team, spent some time playing on a semi-pro team in Chattanooga that used to be called the Chattanooga Express, went on to coach youth soccer, and then went on to spend 8 years as an associate head coach at Ole Miss. And then I was the head women's soccer coach at Vanderbilt for 4 years. Once I left collegiate soccer, it came about the same time I started having my own family and my own children, and I wanted to spend more time with them. So I got into the business development side of soccer with the Tennessee State Soccer Association. And what I was charged with there was helping draw Major League Soccer into Nashville to grow the game across the entire state. And then also the last project that I was working on just before COVID with them and before I got to Chattanooga was a public-private agreement that our association, the Tennessee State Soccer Association, had formed with Richard Siegel Park in the city of Murfreesboro. And that's a 20-year lease agreement where we were going to be an economic engine for Richard Siegel Soccer Park to bring in regional level events. And so when I got this opportunity, it was obviously very exciting to come in to a place like Chattanooga and Eastridge, where pro soccer was going to be a commitment from the ownership group, from the city of Eastridge, and then what could we build out on the academy side. And so I've been here for roughly 7 months, and my excitement is through the roof on what we can do. Part of that is what we want to do as an expansion in our partnership with you all that will allow us the opportunity and the space and the resources required to really grow the game. So we want to invest heavily into the youth of Eastridge. We want to be part of your community and schools. If we can grow the game through schools, we want to create active lifestyles, because soccer, as we all know, presents itself as a sport that is required, that requires running, that requires activity. We want to get people out and about, and we want to do all of this at Camp Jordan and make it our hub. And we have an academy in Dalton. We'll soon be announcing an academy partnership in Knoxville. We're going to grow our brand into North Alabama and in parts outside of our community. But when we do soccer in Chattanooga and we do soccer in this region, we want to bring events and we want to bring people and traffic to Eastridge and specifically to Camp Jordan. And for us to do that, we would just like to request that expansion of a partnership and grow rec soccer. We'd like to explore how we can make a bigger impact on rec soccer. Can we start elementary school soccer in the city of Eastridge? What can we do to grow the game? And to do that, we're going to need some help. And so that's why we're here on this call tonight. And I'll just kind of stop there, see if you have any questions, and see what may come about that I can help you all with to help you better understand what our goals and what our vision would be.
Well, let me start by saying nice meeting you, Derek, and thank you and Sean and the Red Wolves for your commitment to our city already, the impact that we're already seeing, and I'm looking very forward to growing the vision with you guys, and I'll open it up for anyone on the council have questions, comments.
I have a comment. I'm very impressed with this presentation and I like where we're going with this. But isn't the Chattanooga Football Club Academy already there?
Yes, CFC Academy is out there right now. They are, we have a agreement with them that expires on June 30th of this year, where they have utilized some of our fields that are out there. This is a great presentation. It's a great opportunity for East Ridge, for soccer, for youth, and for an investment in the complex and in our community as well. The one thing, as you just mentioned, is the fact that we have that agreement with CFCA, which expires in June. Knowing that this, is a great opportunity for us, that there might be a need for us to, being professional and businesslike, to make sure that, to see if the council would, help us or instruct us if we need to talk to CFC to get to the point of where we just need to tell them that we are not going to engage in another contract after June 30th. That might be something that's just courteous and professional for us to do to move forward. CFC might need time to go and look for other venues, other fields, things of that nature, and I think Kenny may have something he wants to add to this. But, we appreciate the agreement we've had with them and the help that they have given the city over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. We worked through some pretty challenging times, some pretty challenging years. But at the end of the day, this is a commitment that I think we all made, and most of you made sitting up there. The direction that we were going to go, and the support that we had out there, not only for youth soccer but for the Red Wolves. We hope everybody with the Red Wolves or the CFCA can continue to grow. But with what we're doing and the direction we're going, East Ridge Football Club is continuing to be a partner with the Chattanooga Red Wolves. The city of East Ridge has become a partner with the Chattanooga Red Wolves, and not only a local soccer, but also through the development phase and everything else. So we just wanted or they actually asked if they could submit this kind of a vision and what they're looking at. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but they just wanted to show you this is kind of the direction that they would like to go, and make sure that the city is still adequately engaged, and everybody's wanting to continue to that partnership to make sure that we can see this thing through. So that's all I have.
Any other questions?
So I guess Kenny and I, as administration, need some direction from the council on how you all want us to proceed.
Yeah,
Would that be in the form of a motion or what?
I guess it could.
Yeah, I agree with the city manager. We need to, out of courtesy and respect and, thankfulness for all that CFC, has done for us, that, if this is the direction that we're going with, which clearly we are, is to inform them and probably and notify them that we don't have an intent to renew. So it would probably be good to get a consensus from the council, and I would assume that would be probably by a motion. I'll ask Mr. Litchford confirmation on that.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So this would be, this is a contract with Chattanooga Football Club that expires in its natural terms in June of this year. Generally, and I think a best practice is to do a resolution. Resolutions are designed for purposes of when the council wants to take action, and the idea is council takes action through transparency in public meetings. In this case, there's a contract that's going to expire on its natural terms. This council took action 5 years ago on that. And so while there's no action with respect to the contract, what you all are just doing, and it's a good best practice, is you all are, as a transparency effort, giving public notice and directing the city manager to notify the Chattanooga Football Club that to the extent there was going to be a renewal, which is not whether it's provided for in the agreement, but it's got to be mutual agreement. But the city, as a courtesy, is providing notice that there's not an intent to renew that agreement. So I have no problem with the resolution being the standard practice for action like this. Just understand this would be it's not something that the city is actually taking action with respect to, other than directing the city manager to, you know, as a courtesy, meet with and talk to Chattanooga Football Club regarding its desires to not want to renew the agreement.
And Mark, the one piece of that to make sure I heard you correctly was the contract just expires. There's no renewal provisions at all within the contract. So just as the best practice, you know, knowing that in the past when we had a contract like what, Kenny, 2014, 2016, whatever, we you know, went forward with the efforts towards working on new contracts. We just want to be you know, forthcoming, and you know, I'm very excited about what the Red Wolves have to offer here. But I think it's also important for us to, you know, to let CFC Academy know that this is the direction, if that's the direction the council wants to go in, and it would just be, you know, prudent for us to provide that information, I think.
Okay. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion from the council for a resolution. I would assume would be 3108. So I'll entertain a motion for a resolution 3108 for notification of. How do we
Kenny,
word this?
for the city administration to notify Chattanooga Football Club Academy of its intent to
Not enter into any new agreement on, as the term expires in June 30, on June 30.
thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 3108.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Councilmember Helton and a second by Councilmember Witt for resolution 3108. Do we have any discussion? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Miller.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Resolution 3108 passed. And again, thank you both, Derek and Sean. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you all so much, and we're just very excited. We're going, but we're excited to go bigger. And so, thanks for your support so much, and hope you guys have a good rest of your evening and meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, you guys.
All right, that is the last item of our agenda, so we'll move.
Mayor,
Yes.
I know it's the last item of the agenda, but we had something come up late I would like to just discuss with you all as it relates to surplus property. We have a 1996 reel mower that the high school would love to use. They've got someone that would actually take that mower and try to rehab it. Like I say, it's a 1996 reel mower. It was used at the high school prior, but right now it's in disrepair. But they're willing to make the repair, so we would like, staff has contacted me and would like to surplus that mower, and it would be used for or provided to the East Ridge High School. Provided they can get it all repaired and work, then they'll be able to use it there. But in order for us to surplus it like that, we would still like it to be directed to the high school.
All right, so we needed to add an item to the agenda. Okay,
Yes.
we'll look to City Attorney Lynchford. Do we need to do that by majority vote, or do you want to just add that and then we can do a resolution? You're on mute, sir. You're on mute.
Yes,
There you
ma'am.
There we go.
This goes back to best practices here. I don't think you have to make a motion you can make a motion to add it, but I think what the motion is just simply that the city would like to go ahead and surplus this 1996 lawnmower. So it would be in the form of resolution. Resolution 3109 would be put on the table, and it would be to surplus this lawnmower for purposes of giving it to the Department of Education.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 3109, the surplus property being donated to the school.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 3109.
Second.
A motion by Vice Mayor Chauncey and a second by Councilmember Witt. Do we have any discussion? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes,
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. All right. I don't think we have any other items on our agenda, do we? All right, no problem. It's going to a good place. So we'll move to now item L, discussion of the tentative agenda items for January 28th, 2021, the attachment A. So under old business, we will
About
have,
9K,
I'm sorry?
9K ordinance for a sign ordinance variance.
That's on the tentative.
It's on the
agenda.
tentative. Yeah, start to say, I don't see,
We're still on regular business for this meeting.
yeah, that's on the tentative. Councilmember Cagle.
What was Resolution 3108?
3108, that is the city administration notifying CFA of its intent not to engage. So then the next one was 3109, the surplus property, and then we're
Gotcha.
moving into the tentative agenda for January 28, 2021 council meeting.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, so under old business, we would have the second and final reading of ordinance number 1139. That's the ordinance to amend Title 8 of the East Ridge Municipal Code pertaining to the requirements for retail packaged liquor stores and sell wine in retail food stores. Do we have any additional discussion on that? I see none. The next item of old business would be ordinance number 1140, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulations and the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, so as to rezone the property located at 1505 Truman Avenue, tax map 169L-G-003 from C2 Commercial District to R1 Residential District. That would be second and final reading. Do we have any additional discussion on that item? I see none. Item C, under old business, ordinance number 1141, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulations and the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, so as to rezone the properties located at 845 and 855 Donaldson Road, tax map 156L-C-012 and 012.02 from R1 Residential District to R2 Residential Duplex District. That would be second and final reading. Do you have any additional discussion on that? I see none. We'll move then to new business, which we will have a public hearing for the 3918 Ringo Road sign variance. And then following that would be the resolution, and another resolution for the 3918 Ringo Road sign variance request to add an additional 6 feet to the newly installed 9-foot monument sign.
That's correct, Mayor and Council. You can actually see that sign currently. It's a great monument sign. It follows all of our standards that we were looking at. After they got it, the actual erection complete of the sign, they felt like it was not tall enough, so they wanted to go back towards their original height of the sign, which was obviously a violation of what the way the sign ordinance is written. And so they're requesting a variance of the increase, and obviously staff has to put that variance request forward, and it's not something that staff will be recommending, I can tell you.
Thank you, sir. Do I have any questions, council? I see none. So that's the last item that we have on the agenda. Is there any other items of business that we need to consider on our January 28th meeting? I see none. I will then adjourn this meeting and wish everyone a great evening. Thank you.